On May 19, 2024, 17-year-old Vedant Agarwal ran over and killed 2 innocent people in a hit-and-run accident in Pune, Maharashtra. He was caught on CCTV speeding. His car was traveling at nearly 200 kilometers per hour on a busy, unmarked road. The victims were likely hit from behind and did not see it coming. Anish Avadhiya and Ashwini Costa, both 24 years old, died in this incident. There were eyewitnesses who saw it all happen. The 17-year-old was pulled out of his now battered car and was thrashed by the enraged public before they handed him over to the police, fully expecting that he will receive a punishment befitting his crime. So you can imagine their shock when, within 17 hours of being arrested, Vedant was not only let out on bail, but he was also let off with nothing more than a proverbial slap on the wrist. Get this, he was told to write a 300-word essay on road accidents, work along with the traffic police for 15 days to learn traffic rules, and attend therapy sessions for his drinking habit. No one could believe writing an essay was considered an appropriate enough punishment for, let's say, underage drinking, driving a car without license and registration, and going way over the speed limit, driving under the influence, and killing 2 innocent people. All this before the age of 18. We can also add driving illegally before the age of 18 to the list. How about give the kid some candy while you're at it and send him home to rest and recover from the night's ordeal? If you're wondering, what could warrant such a preferential treatment? Who is this 17-year-old? Let me tell you. He is the son of a prominent real estate developer, Vishal Agarwal, and his wife, Shivani Agarwal. His family business, Brahma Realty and Infrastructure, is worth millions. The car Vedant was driving that night, a Porsche Taycan Electric, was an early 18th birthday present by his grandfather. It's priced in India between 1.6 to 2.4 crores. His family has all the connections and influence money could buy, and they did everything in their power to bury the crime the teenager committed. They thought, because they did not care about the 2 deceased individuals and their grieving families, no one would. They were so blinded by their own prejudice that when Vedant was released, the public outrage that followed came as a surprise to the family, law enforcement, and Justice Department, who had used their power to save the teenager without sparing a thought about the injustice being done to the victims. They were not even an afterthought. Anish and Ashwini were both from Madhya Pradesh, both IT professionals. According to their families, both of them had worked hard all their life to get to good schools and colleges and get a decent job. Now, they were lying in a hospital morgue for not having the foresight to clear the road for the millionaire's son to use it as a racetrack. They were in the way. Within a day of Vedant being granted bail, more sordid details of how an elaborate cover-up was orchestrated in favor of the teenager started to come out. Officials at every level were bought and paid for by his family. This is what we know so far in this incident. On the evening of 18th May, 17-year-old Vedant Agarwal, along with his friends, went to a club called Cozy in Pune, Maharashtra to celebrate his Year 12 results. They entered the club around 10:30 and were in there till midnight. Within 2 hours, the group had spent 48,000 rupees, which is roughly about 400 pounds on food and drinks. Remember, this was a bunch of teenagers. Legal drinking age in India varies from state to state. In some states, it is 18 years, and in some others, it's 21. But in the state of Maharashtra, where this incident took place, it is illegal to serve alcohol to anyone under 25. Vedant is 17 years and 8 months old. Some reports say Vedant and his friends gained entry using fake IDs. Others suggest they were never asked for their IDs. Truth be told, he does not look like a 25-year-old, fake ID or not. At midnight, when the club refused to serve them more drinks because they were closing, Vedant and his friends felt that they were not done yet and decided to go to another club located at nearby Marriott Suites called Black. This club is not far from where Ashwini and Anish were with their friends. They were at a club called Bala, which is only a couple of miles away from Black. All three clubs are in and around a place called Kalyani Nagar in Pune. Vedant and his friends continued their drinking and partying till early morning hours. After 2 in the morning on 19th May, the group came out of the club and got into the car, which Vedant insisted on driving himself in spite of his driver being present with him at the time. How unfortunate. Unaware of the fate awaiting them on the other side of the road, Anish and Ashwini bid farewell to their friends and got on their motorbike to head home. They had just taken a turn on Kalyani Nagar Airport Road. In the CCTV footage, we can clearly see their motorbike disappear. Couple of moments later, we see a silver car. Blink and you'll miss it. It's just a quick blur in the video footage. That is how fast Vedant was accelerating. The road in question is barely big enough to fit the car. At least that's how it appears on the CCTV. Then we see a commotion. Vedant's Porsche had rammed into the motorbike Anish and Ashwini were on. Ashwini died on the spot and Anish succumbed to his injuries on the way to the hospital. The road was fairly busy, even for that time of the night. Quickly, people gathered around the Porsche and pulled the driver out. His car was badly damaged and was in no state to be driven out. When Vedant was arrested and taken to a nearby Yerwada police station, the matter was considered to be pretty straightforward, or so people thought. They had seen the boy hit the two-wheeler and kill 2 people. There were enough eyewitnesses to the crime. No one was anticipating the events to unfold the way they did over the next couple of days. Within 24 hours, Vedant was out on bail. What unfolded after the accident is not just shocking. It also raises questions on fairness of the judicial system and involvement of the law enforcement officials themselves in trying to squash a crime, no matter how serious it may be, if the right incentive is offered. They really thought this was going to float, that no one was going to question some rich kid walking out a day after killing 2 people right in front of a bunch of witnesses. Officials in position of authority and influence had once again succumbed to the power of money, had showed a blatant disregard for the life of 2 innocent people. Their families did not even receive the courtesy of an apology from the rich kid who had mauled their children under his expensive car and had essentially walked free. Just hours after Vedant's arrest, local MLA Sunil Tingre visited the Yerwada police station at around 3 a.m. It was later revealed that he is a longtime friend of Agarwal family. Even though he now swears up and down that his intentions when he went to the station that day was not to interfere with the investigation. Rather, he was there as a concerned and responsible public representative. Since he is neither a lawyer nor a doctor or a police officer, what was he doing there? Now they are trying to give it a political angle, that the opposition is trying to manipulate the situation to malign his name. My question is, even if his motive in getting involved in the case was concern for everyone involved, should he not have visited the victims and their family first? Why did he visit the police station at that time of the night, if not to help his wealthy family friends? Would he have done the same for any ordinary citizen? It's hard to believe. He just sat there for 3 hours out of concern and did no influencing. It doesn't end there. Few hours after the arrest, reporters present at the Yerwada police station saw someone arrive in a Mercedes with multiple boxes of pizzas. For a second, let's just assume it was those officers who were working late getting some food delivered. But what Domino's delivery guy is going to pull up in a Mercedes? Initial assumption was that Agarwal family was treating the officers inside to a little pizza party, another tactic to buy favors for their son. But later on, someone figured out another theory. You see, Vedant was blind drunk when he was arrested. By his own admission, he does not remember events of that night with any clarity. Once he was arrested, one of the first things they had to do was get his blood drawn. Everyone involved was aware that at that moment, his blood alcohol level was going to be off the charts. A simple Google search shows when food is eaten in close proximity to drinking alcohol, it can substantially reduce the BAC from the level that it would be reached if the alcohol were consumed on an empty stomach. So, the pizza he consumed might also have helped to reduce his blood alcohol level to a certain degree. In fact, an FIR was registered against the teenager at 8:30 a.m. on 19th May. But his blood sample was only taken several hours later at 11 a.m. This is either a serious lapse in judgment or a deliberate delay tactic. When the FIR was registered against Vedant, it was under Section 304A of Indian Penal Code, which means causing the death of someone by doing any rash or negligent act not amounting to culpable homicide. What does culpable homicide mean? When an individual is said to be culpable, meaning he or she is legally responsible or liable for a criminal act. In other words, culpable homicide is committed when the accused has caused loss of life through wrongful conduct, but where there was no intention to kill. What they're trying to do here is making it seem like this incident was an accident pure and simple. They are trying to reduce Vedant's responsibility in the incident by showing that he had no intent to kill. But how can that be when he was well aware that drinking and driving was dangerous? Was he unaware of the rules? Was he in any way incapable of understanding them? Did he have some sort of intellectual disability which limited his understanding of the rules he needed to follow while on a public road? I'm sure they will come up with some sort of an excuse to explain away why the FIR was filed under Section 304A instead of 304, which would have been more appropriate as it would hold him responsible for the culpable homicide at least. Next in line to save the boy was the government forensic team. 2 doctors at the state forensic lab, Dr. Ajay Tavre and Dr. Srihari Halnor, decided it was a good idea to discard the sample they had taken from Vedant and replace it with Vedant's mother, Shivani Agarwal's blood. So of course when tested, it came out clean. There was no alcohol present at all. Both Dr. Tavre and Halnor have now been arrested over allegations of tampering with the blood samples in order to falsify evidence that he was not under the influence of alcohol at the time of the accident. Allegedly, they were paid 3 lakh rupees for their troubles. At this point, general public was unaware of the goings-on and were still under the impression that Vedant would be punished for his crime. When the news of his sentencing, as it was, came out, Both media and public were vocal about the ridiculousness of it all. Once they started to get called out from all angles, Pune police were forced to change their tune. On 20th May, they appealed to Session Court to see if Vedant could be tried as an adult, since he is only 4 months away from his 18th birthday. They also want to change his charges from Section 304A to Section 304. As I said before, this would hold him responsible for culpable homicide. Right now, that case is with Juvenile Justice Board. While all this was taking place, there were still further attempts by Agarwal family to save Vedant. The family driver was reportedly first requested and then threatened by Vedant's grandfather to take the blame for the accident. This news did not surprise anyone. It is not the first time in a high-profile hit-and-run case the family driver has been made out to be the scapegoat. Fortunately, there were eyewitnesses who could attest to Vedant being in the driver's seat. They had literally pulled him out of the said driver's seat after the accident, drunk out of his mind. If only his family could pay to have everyone's memories erased. I wonder how they forgot about the CCTV cameras on the road. Most likely, the footage came out before they could get to them. Otherwise, how hard could it be for a family like that to have the recordings erased? From police officers to forensic doctors to session court judges, their influence seemed to have no bounds. If they could do this after 2 people had been killed on a busy road, we can only imagine the fate of a common man when there are no witnesses around to vouch for them, dead or alive. After the monumental fuck-up became headline news, Vedant's father, Vijay Agarwal, fled Pune and went into hiding for a time. His wife Shivangi Agarwal was also arrested for tampering with the evidence by providing her blood sample. Vedant's grandfather is currently in custody for alleged kidnapping and wrongful confinement of their family driver. And there is also a cheating and criminal intimidation case that is filed against the father and grandfather of the teenager. Such amazing examples of parenthood all around. I wonder if there is something wrong with the parenting handbook for the rich and famous. Maybe there are some pages missing, something to think about. On paper, they have everything money could buy, but in life, more often than not, these rich kids amount to a whole lot of nothing. I somewhat understand the lack of drive and ambition, but their lack of human decency is baffling to me. In a recent development, Vedant has been moved to a juvenile detention center where he will remain until further notice. Owners and managers of the clubs where the teenagers were served alcohol were also arrested for serving alcohol to minors. It seems justice did prevail in the end, but barely. This incident laid bare the corruption that is so rampant at every level of government services. Who do we blame in this situation? The system, which time and again seems to favor the rich and powerful, or do we blame the parents who refuse to do the bare minimum to raise their children to be a good human being? If they had only paid attention to what their son was up to, rather than trying to save him once he had gone and killed someone. Did they care that their underage son was drinking? Did they care that he was driving illegally? Did they care that he was driving a car without registration and even a license plate number because his millionaire father had forgotten to pay the bare minimum fees to get it registered? No, they didn't. They threw money at him and did not bother to keep tabs on him, where he was going, what he was doing, what kind of a person that teenager was turning out to be. No, they were too busy for that. In my opinion, these parents should also be booked for blatant child neglect and endangerment. Two innocent young people had to pay the price with their lives for the parents' mistakes. If they had disciplined their child when he needed it, if only they had stepped up when he had messed up and took responsibility, showed him how to be a good human being. If only the driver who was with them that night was driving. If only staff at the bar were responsible enough and had refused to serve the teenagers, fake ID or not. If only one adult in Vedant's life had checked up on him when he had not returned home post-midnight and had talked him out of driving the car himself, or even called up the driver who was with him to let him know Vedant was not to drive the car under any circumstances. If only someone had intervened before it was too late, rather than trying to cover up the incident after it had already happened. If only Ashwini and Anish did not have to pay the ultimate price for someone else's mistake. Today, two families would not be grieving the untimely death of two of their children. They deserved better. They deserved better from the system who tried to cheat them even in death. The biggest lesson for all of us in this is system is rigged to favor the wealthy. If we stay silent, it will forever be that way. Life of a person with more money is not more important by default. That is the video for today. Thank you for watching. Please do like, share and subscribe for more true crime content. I'll see you in the next one.